Israel should make the Gaza Strip a parking lot by this time next week. Destroy the whole thing. And anybody that's going to support this Hamas nonsense.
This is Greg Locke. He's a megachurch pastor, a hate preacher, televangelist type of guy. And he's talking about the Israel-Palestine conflict going on at this immediate moment. Here's the thing. I've noticed a lot of really extreme reactions from a lot of people. Not just people on the Israel side, not just people on the Palestine side. So I wanted to take a look at some of the really extreme reactions and talk about why I don't think they're productive at all. In fact, they're completely counterproductive. They are hurting the cause. This is a prime example of what I'm talking about. This guy is literally calling for genocide. What? I wanted to space it out and show you one from one group, one from the other. But here's one of the major problems with that plan. The vast majority of propaganda and extreme reactions and stuff about this conflict is coming out of Israel, because Israel's the one targeting the Western world with this stuff. The Palestinians, the Muslims on this side of the equation, are targeting propaganda toward other Muslims. Like Hamas is spreading extremist rhetoric and absolute nutcasery, like we're hearing from Greg Locke. Hamas is spreading it to other Muslims to try to bring them into the cause, to try to radicalize them and get them to help. They're not focusing on the West. Israel focuses on the United States and European countries to bolster their credibility and the help that they may receive. So almost all the propaganda that you find right now is coming from Israel when it comes to this war, but not all of it. And I found some absolutely crazy stuff on both sides, so let's talk about it. This one is a pro-Israel, or really an anti-Palestine protester from Times Square, New York City, I think. October 11th, 2023, just a few days after the, original altercation where Hamas invaded Israel and everything else. Dude was out there saying this. Listen to this one.
Palestine! Palestine to my...
What do you think the response should be from Netanyahu and the military to Gaza?
Kill all Palestinians! All of them! Not one left. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be deceased!
All of them, he says. I guess that includes men, women, and children, right? The place that's being contested right now, or that's being attacked by Israel, is called the Gaza Strip. Quick interjection. I won't take long. I just wanted to tell you guys, YouTube's algorithm operates off of a few factors. Watch time, whether or not you subscribe, and whether or not you like something. So if you really want to help my channel, I would appreciate it if you guys watch the video to the end. If you don't watch it to the end, just watch a little bit longer than you would have otherwise. I would appreciate that very much. All right, let's get back to the video. If you're unfamiliar with this, I'm assuming you know very little about this if you're walking into this video. Let me just show you a quick image of it here. This is a map of Israel currently. There's the West Bank. This is owned by Palestine on the right here. And the Gaza Strip. This is also owned by Palestine. Now, Israel has been building settlements in the West Bank and pushing Palestinians out lately. The Gaza Strip is really the target right now, though. It's about the size of Manhattan Island, and it has 2.2 million people to Manhattan's 1.6 million. Gaza Strip's a little bit bigger than Manhattan. It's a very impoverished, destitute, war-torn area. Somewhere in the range of 37 to 40% of the children in the Gaza Strip have PTSD or some kind of emotional issues as a result of the war that they've experienced in their lives. And 50% of the Gaza Strip are children. Just to give you a little idea of what we're looking at here. So Israel is entering the Gaza Strip at this moment as we speak. This guy that we were just listening to just endorsed the idea that Palestinians, all of them, should die. Remember? Men, women, and children. There are hospitals in the Gaza Strip that had babies in incubators until they cut the power. I guess he got his wish with some of those children, didn't he?
Not one left. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be deceased!
And Israel need to do like this. You see? Now, Gaza,
like this.
Okay, the top one is what Gaza looks like in October 2023, and the bottom one is what he wants it to look like.
Gaza need to do like this. Or like this, but all this Jewish. Two options.
What do you?
That's insane. He wants to flatten Gaza Strip completely, or, well, he wants to eradicate all of the Palestinians, is what he's saying. He's calling for genocide, right? I don't know how else to interpret this. Again, bear with me. This isn't just about Israel. There are some really extreme reactions on the other side, too.
What do you think the response should be to Gaza?
We gotta wipe them off the map. I'm talking about every flatten them like a parking lot.
Yeah,
Flatten them out once and
there's
for all. Get rid of that.
nothing else you can do. They proved to us that there's nothing else you can do. We tried.
You tried what? What did you try exactly? You didn't try peace deals. My problem with the whole situation is that Israel is a far-right extremist government. I have no issue with the people that live there. None. I have a problem with the far-right government and the propaganda that they spread. And I have a problem with the fact that they were offered a peace deal in 2002, 2007, and 2017. Again, if they went back to the 1967 borders, which is roughly representative of what we're looking at right here, if they went back to this and pulled back all of the settlements that they built into the West Bank and everything else, and they helped deal with the refugee problem that they created, then there would be peace in the Middle East. That was put on the table. And what did they do? They said, go f*** yourself. The far-right government did. Again, no problem with the people there. The far-right government is insane.
And
We tried everything.
So this guy apparently tried. I don't know what exactly, but he did.
there's nothing else you can do. We tried, and
We tried everything. It doesn't work. We have
What did you try?
to wipe them flat off the map, like a parking lot.
I'm not stopping till all Arabs are wiped out.
I think
That is psychotic, dude.
now it's the time that we need to erase Gaza. There is people inside, our people inside, that kidnap, and now we need to kill all of them and free Israel. All of their belief is killing Jewish and killing and murder our people.
Flatten it. Flatten Gaza.
This is crazy, dude. This whole thing is crazy. Look, this is the Palestine side, I guess. It's not a war if only one side has an army. Fair enough. Fair enough. Palestine is being decimated right now, and it's really, really concerning. I mentioned this in another video, but I don't know where that video is going to be or if other people have seen it or what, so let me just say it again. In the 1940s, late 1940s, the United States was about to drop bombs on Nagasaki and Hiroshima. They were going to drop the atomic bombs. And leading up to that moment, I think, 2 days beforehand or something like that, they flew airplanes over top of the two cities and dropped leaflets over top of them. They all, opened the cargo hold in the plane, and millions of pieces of paper flew out all over the city that said something to the effect of, get out now, you are doomed if you stay, your government is bringing you to destruction, blah, blah, blah. And then I saw this picture. This is Palestine as Israel is dropping leaflets over top of the city. I don't know what's going to happen next, but I know it's going to be something horrific. So here's where it gets interesting. There's also a very extreme anti-Jewish side that is bizarre to watch because it's coming from like the same group of people almost. They're like warring factions within extremist Christianity, right? Like one extremist group of Christians wants the Jews to succeed in Israel, and the other faction of Christianity wants Israel to fail miserably. I think they all believe, like all of these Christian denominations that are really extreme, believe Israel must exist as a country before Jesus can come back or whatever. But some of these factions fucking hate Jewish people and Israel and pray for the day when they will be taken out. This is Stu Peters, an extremist if I've ever seen one, far-right extremist. October 11th, 2023, weighing in on this conflict. It's bizarre.
We put Israel in the region to basically stir everything up, and they are resentful about the fact that Israel is there, mucking with all of their relations and imposing everything on them, and it's just, they're an instigator.
Israel's an instigator. Fascinating. I don't know what he's saying. We put Israel there? The United States put Israel there? No, the United Nations voted on this, and, you know, the Jewish people in the region paid for that land in blood, as basically all land is paid for with blood.
And they, not to mention the age-old fact that, yeah, they literally are the ones who killed Christ. I think we talked about this the last time I was on, and
let me tell you why it's so deeply disturbing to hear somebody say something like that. That was one of the things that Hitler used as a rallying cry, as a justification to whip people into a blood frenzy. That was a piece of propaganda that got Nazis so violently angry. Hitler used Christianity against people when possible, and that was one of the things that he used. Jews killed Jesus, it's their fault. When in reality, first of all, I don't know that Jesus was even a real person. I think he probably was. But even if we take all the gospel accounts at face value, the Jews didn't kill Jesus. The Roman Empire killed Jesus. Pontius Pilate was the one that chose to kill Jesus or whatever, right? It wasn't the Jews. I mean, the Jews didn't like him. They didn't want him around anymore, but they didn't kill him. That was the Romans. Like, it's built on sand and nonsense all the way down. And it's one piece of the anti-Semitism puzzle clicking into place once again.
Christ. I think we talked about this the last time I was on, and, you know, read Matthew 27. They say that we are responsible, and our kids will be responsible, and our progeny will be responsible for the death of Jesus. That's kind of what I was alluding to.
Wait, what's this say? Matthew 27, 24 to 26. And Pilate was the Roman governor of the region. So he was a Roman, not Jewish. So Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor, seeing that he prevailed nothing, but that rather a tumult was made. What the hell does that mean? Taking water, washed his hands before the people, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this just man. Look you to it. And the whole people answering said, his blood be upon us and our children. Yeah, that sounds super logical and likely. Totally, absolutely. I believe it without question. The gospel accounts were very biased against Jews, against Pharisees, against scribes, because they were viewed as Jesus' main adversaries. When in reality, the Pharisees, they were just like the legal experts that understood the law really well, the Jewish law really well. That's it. They weren't like these terrible people. And I don't see why they would have said something like, his blood be upon us and our children. This bit here about Pilate seeing that he prevailed nothing and that he washed his hands and said, I'm innocent of the blood of this just man, that never happened. As far as anybody can tell, that bit where Pilate said he's innocent of it, that didn't happen. This was retroactively going back and rewriting the story to make Jews the bad guy. And I say that with complete confidence because we have other accounts, other gospels, Gnostic gospels, and all kinds of different accounts from that era that completely contradict this and are much more credible than this specific verse right here. These verses were tampered with and messed with and changed over the course of hundreds of years by a plethora of Christian monks and stuff like that. Looking at the original texts can give us some context into what really happened, but this wasn't it right here.
But they are absolutely, they are pushing buttons, they are causing problems in the region.
It's fascinating. So this is the other extremist side of the coin. Here's another shot of Stu Peters right here. This is him on Twitter. Here's a better view of Damar Hamlin's blasphemous jacket. Our prayers might have saved his life, but apparently not his soul. Blasphemy. This dude is worried about blasphemy all of a sudden. He's super obsessed with it. Here's another extremely disturbing event that took place against Jews. I feel like there needs to be a distinction drawn between people of a Jewish background and the far-right government in Israel. There should be a distinction drawn between the two. Opportunists who hate Jews and have always hated Jews as human beings, they don't view them as people and they want them gone, i.e. Nazis, they seem to be siding with a plethora of different people, Hamas and Hezbollah. They're joining with them to find common ground in the belief that Jews should be eradicated. It's about as disturbing as it gets. This is October 9th, 2023, Sydney, Australia, the day after Hamas originally attacked Israel. Gas the Jews. Does it get any more whacked out than that? Seriously. There is extremism on both sides here. I mean, I don't want to do a both sides comparison as far as the war goes, because as the sign said earlier, it's not a war when only one side has the guns. But there are extremists who hate Palestine, and there are extremists who hate Israel, and they're both completely irrational. Interestingly enough, it's not a left-right type of dichotomy, though, seemingly. It's like a lot of the hate is coming from the right. We've got Nazis, a right-wing ideology, and we have Christian Zionist extremists who largely want the Jews dead, but they know Israel needs to exist and the Jews need to live there before Jesus can come back or whatever. Here's another concerning thing that I've heard lately. This is just anecdotal, but I've heard the argument that it's impossible to enact violence upon somebody who is an oppressor. So there is no such thing as terrorism if you are a colonizer or whatever. Like September 11th, apparently, within this framework of belief, September 11th was not a terrorist attack because the United States instigated it by doing whatever it is that the U.S. does. So by definition, it's not violence. I completely disagree with that. Where are people's heads that they're coming to these bizarre conclusions, that they are blindly hating people around them, that they hate Jews, that they hate Palestinians, without question? What is happening? This is insane. Violence is a word that we all share, that we all use. We don't have our own private languages. Everybody understands violence to mean one specific thing. Violence is physical harm against somebody. Russia used violence against Ukraine, and then Ukraine used violence against Russia in self-defense. Violence is justified in some cases, in self-defense cases, for example. What Hamas did was not a self-defense case. It wasn't a clear-cut case of self-defense, in my opinion. It was a terrorist attack that was absolutely horrific. And what Israel is about to do, or what I suspect they're about to do with these leaflets, I believe that's going to be violence too. About as disturbing as it gets, man. Use your head. Okay, when you're on the extreme end of a spectrum, there might be something wrong. I'm not saying that the center is the correct position every time. Sometimes the other position is correct. Sometimes the extreme end of the spectrum is right on occasion. The middle is not the correct spot to be on the flat earth, right? The earth is a globe. Neutral would be, I don't know. Taking a hard stance would be the earth is a globe. That's the correct position. Sometimes on one end of the spectrum, sometimes the correct answer lies on one end of the spectrum. But if you find yourself on that end of the spectrum, you better be damn sure you're correct. You better double and triple and quadruple check yourself, because before you know it, you end up like one of these nutcases. It is so difficult to not turn into an extremist nutcase when you're on one end of the political spectrum or one end of the belief spectrum or whatever. Again, it's not necessarily the wrong place to be. You just got to be sure of it. I have a whole video on Greg Locke, either on my main channel or on my Fireside channel. Just check around and see. But on everything that he said about this, it's absolutely insane. And you want to see one more insane thing that I saw? again, I didn't want to make this all about Israel because, again, Israel is not the only insane group that's reacting in an insane way right now. But there are a weird number of extremists in Israel at this immediate moment. Again, I think it's because the propaganda coming from Israel is targeted toward the West. The propaganda coming from Palestine is targeted toward Muslims. That's my guess as to why there's so much less propaganda. Because in every conflict, there's propaganda flying all over the place. Okay, this guy is a Jewish person. I looked into him. This is an accurate translation. And this guy, I believe, this older guy, he's 95, the oldest reservist to enlist in the military over this Palestine conflict right now. He's also got his hat on backwards. I don't, for what it's worth. Anyway, I don't believe that he was affected much by the Holocaust, not that I could find. I think that he was one of the people that lived in Palestine at the time. He's a specific type of Jewish ethnicity. Like there's Sephardic, largely came from Spain and that area. Ashkenazi was in Germany, Greece, so on and so forth. And then I think there's another denomination, if you could call it that, called the Mizrahi, I think it is what it is. Yeah, here's the image, right? Mizrahi, I was correct, yeah. This is a rough image of where the Jewish ethnic groups lived. So Ashkenazi was most affected by World War II. And then Sephardic, they were also affected, but not as heavily. And then Mizrahi, again, slightly less affected than the Sephardic, largely. The Mizrahi Jews stayed in the vicinity. If you zoom in here, you can see right here is Israel in this one little circle, this strip of land right here, right next to Egypt and Saudi Arabia and stuff like that. So, to my knowledge, this guy that we're looking at here I think he was Mizrahi. He lived in that area. And when Israel split off as a country, officially, 1947, 1948, he fought in that war. So he's always had conflict with the Arab population in the area. But he hasn't really experienced the Holocaust in the same way that, like, Ashkenazi Jews who lived in Germany at the time experienced it. That's the research I turned up. Take it with a grain of salt. You can look into him a little bit more if you want to. His name is, what's his name? Damn it, I can't find it. Well, anyway, I'll find the guy's name and I'll insert it later. Listen to what he says. I'm going to turn it way down and I'm just going to read the subtitles to you. Be triumphant and finish them off, and don't leave anyone behind. Erase the memory of them. Erase them, their families, mothers, and children. These animals can no longer live. Nowadays, we have no excuse. Tomorrow, Hezbollah could send airstrikes on us, and the Arabs here could attack us. So we have no excuse. Every Jew with a weapon should go out and kill them. If you have an Arab neighbor, don't wait. Go to his home and shoot him. Attack them, and don't wait for them to fire airstrikes at us, and for the Iron Dome to activate. Attack them before that. We want to invade not like before. We want to enter and destroy what's in front of us, and destroy houses, then destroy the one after it. With all of our forces, complete destruction, enter and destroy. As you can see, we will witness things we've never dreamed of. Let them drop bombs on them and erase them. All of the prophecies sent by the prophets are about to occur. Again, the dude is not in a position of authority or power of any sort, so it could just be like another racist old guy. You know, we got a lot of those in the United States. Sure, they have a lot of them in Palestine, you know, ton of people like this, but I feel like this should contribute to the fact that there's a lot of extremism coming from Hamas and from Israel. There's a lot of black and white thinking, a lot of dangerous genocidal thought happening right now. Is that a real translation? For sure. I am very confident that is a real translation. If you want to hear the entire thing and fact check me if somebody speaks Hebrew, it's 1 minute, 16 seconds long. I'll play the whole thing. Go ahead and listen.
עלו והצליחו. תכסחו אותם כמה שיותר, שלא להשאיר מהם זכר. שלא הם, לא אמא שלהם, לא הילדה שלהם, לא התינוקות שלהם. אסור להם לחיות האלה. בימים האלה לא תהיה לנו ברירה. נקבל עוד טילים מהחיזבאללה, ויקומו כל הערבים בארץ נגדנו, ואז לא תהיה ברירה. מי יש לו נשק יירה בהם. אתה יש לך שכן ערבי, אתה לא תחכה שהוא יבוא אליך הביתה. תיכנס אליו הביתה ותירה בו. תיכנס בהם לפני שיפעילו את הטילים שלהם. אל תחכה שיפגיעו ותיקח את כיפת הברזל. כנס לפני זה, אבל אנחנו צריכים להיכנס לא כמו קודם. להרוס ולהתקדם, להרוס ולהתקדם. עם תותחים, עם הפצצות, להרוס בית ולהיכנס הלאה. להרוס עוד בית ולהיכנס. כמה על מה שהם עוללים לנו, עכשיו הולכת להתחולל. עכשיו הולכים להיות דברים שלא חלמנו עליהם. כן. שיפלו עליהם פצצות שישמידו אותם. כל מה שהנביאים ניבאו הולך על אחרית ימים מתרחש עכשיו.
That's the entirety of it. If somebody has expertise in this and can translate it, feel free. As far as I could tell, I translated a little bit of it myself, and it seemed extremely accurate when I did my translation. But I don't know Hebrew. I know how to type translate.google.com and stuff, you know. Anyway, the point is, you know what? I'll see if I can verify it even further, and I'll take it out if there's some reason to think it's not real. But anyway, the point is there's a lot of extremism on both sides right now. Like this Palestinian sign says, it's not a war if only one side has an army. I agree with that completely. But oh my God, is there propaganda in this war? It's nuts. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.